Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Protest and Promise. My name is Lisa Salazar and I'm the General Manager of the Youth Development Department. On our episodes of Protest and Promise, we engage with members of the Olivia E. Mitchell Youth Council, which is represented by all 15 council districts here in the city, 2 representatives from each, on very important topics that are relevant to young people and their interests. It is my pleasure to announce that Youth Council members are here with us today. For this special segment, we will be discussing financial aid. Financial aid season is upon us, and I know young people across our city are looking for ways to finance their post-secondary education. We have invited two guests from UniteLA, Maria and Matthew, and you'll have a moment to meet them. But before we do that, let's allow our Youth Council members in studio to introduce themselves. So I'm joined here with Baron. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Baron Kim, and I go to Van Nuys High School. I represent CD12. And yeah, this is Christopher.
Hey guys, great to be here. I'm Christopher Hendricks. I represent CD9, and just glad to see this discussion going. Glad to be here. Thank you.
So Maria, welcome to Protest and
me.
Promise, and thank you for being here today. Can you tell us a little bit about your job, about UniteLA, and the work you do around Cash for College and helping students access financial aid?
Yeah, definitely. Thank y'all for having me. Name is Maria Marquez Alvarez. I am a program manager at UniteLA, leading LA Cash for College work. So, just quick, overview of LA Cash for College and UniteLA. UniteLA is an organization that really focuses on 3 areas: systems work, policy, and programming. LA Cash for College falls under that programming element, and essentially the goal of LA Cash for College is to be able to support young people who are applying to college and in need of financial aid to find the resources to be able to go to college, whether that's, grants, scholarships, loans, work study. Our goal is to increase awareness and increase access to financial aid. That's awesome.
And I wish I had that kind of service when I was, back in the Stone Age applying for college. But school is just so expensive and probably seems almost unattainable to most students. So thank you for being here today. I think our Youth Council members have maybe some questions and want to learn more about the work that you do. So, Baron, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure thing. So a question I have for you is just when you're, giving financial aid to students, what's the criteria that you look for? Like, does it go further than just looking at their parents' tax returns?
Yeah, so great question. So the application, so there are 2 main applications that I really try to highlight when we talk about financial aid. There's a free application for federal student aid, more popularly known as FAFSA. And then there's a California DREAM Act application, which is specifically geared towards undocumented students in the state of California. And so when either one of those are being, completed, definitely, obviously, parents' tax information will be asked. But also just questions around the students, are they working? Are they not working? Where are you seeking to go to college? Are you interested in work study, which is another form of financial aid? So it'll have various sections, kind of just, trying to get as much information from the student and the parents as possible so that the universities or the colleges can complete and develop the most suitable financial aid packet for the student. So there are a variety of questions, and that's just one form of financial aid or one document, one resource is the application itself. But then if you have scholarships, which are another form, those all vary, right? Some of them will have you write essays talking about yourself. Others will have you maybe complete a video doing some type of activity. So it varies, but I guess when we're talking specifically about FAFSA and California DREAM Act, those are some of the elements that are being asked.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Christopher?
Okay, yeah. So thank you again for that. I just want to ask, so how would it be in the life of an average applicant? Like does your office give direct resources towards other coalitions to help them? Any partnerships and things of that nature?
Yeah, so I guess something I failed to mention earlier was that LA Cash for College is part of a statewide campaign. So the California Student Aid Commission, also known as CSAC, they lead a lot of the Cash for College campaign. So I have colleagues in other parts of the state, in Sacramento, San Diego, who are also doing Cash for College work. And essentially, we're all trying to mobilize and work with high schools, community-based organizations, colleges, so that we can get students to attend workshops at those sites, gain access to resources. And so if there's something that I don't have access to, I always try to relate to one of our community members or, partners that may have more information. So that's a little bit about, how the programming kind of works. We try to work collectively because I know that it's not just us, it takes a village, right? So in that way, I may not always have the answers, but I will always try to relay and connect folks to other resources. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, I have another question. And so how do you actually raise awareness about Cash for College? And, how do you incentivize kids to sign up for this program?
That's a great question. So a lot of the things that we do behind the scenes are, trying to develop programming that also is directed towards the adults in your lives. So parents, guardians, also counselors, educators, so that they have access to information around financial aid because they work more closely with the students than I do, right? So the purpose of developing this type of programming, whether it's trainings for them or whether it's sharing other, CSAC will have trainings, also developing ads, trying to promote, especially, social media, trying to promote on social media. So those are some of the ways that we really try to get out into the community, as well as working directly. One of our biggest partners is LAUSD, the largest district in LA. So working with them, I think, is a big way in which we try to promote and get the awareness out, and then incentivizing. We offer scholarship opportunities. So through LA Cash for College, we have a $1,500 scholarship that is available to up to 20 students. So students, the way that they can get the scholarship is by attending a Cash for College workshop, completing their financial aid application, whether that's FAFSA, California Dream Act, and then just showing us proof that they're enrolling for the fall. So if, let's say you were a senior this year, you would just let us know, this is my class schedule for fall 2024. And that's, no essay, no videos. It's a pretty straightforward scholarship. So that's one of the ways that we really try and incentivize participation.
You just increase your chances by attending.
Yep.
Yeah, I love how straightforward that is because, other scholarships that I've seen, they make you do a video essay and it's so awkward sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, there's layers to it, but this one is one of the pretty simple ones. So yeah, attend, complete your application, and enroll in college.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right on. Christopher, did you have another question?
Yeah. So, would you say, so let's say that someone goes through the process, they get their application in, they get in, into college, yay for that. After that, is there any post support? Are there any resources for them once they're in college and they're navigating that space? Will you guys offer any of that, or is this we'll help you get there and then that's it?
Typically, yeah, because there is just an abundance of young people transitioning. Our focus will typically be in that, that transitional period of senior year, or if you're a college student and continuing your education. But we definitely try to work with other partners who may have the resources or the programming already established that helps young people through, retention at the college that they're at. But we always recommend, especially for a lot of first-gen students, there are so many resources on their campuses.
What a great conversation. Thank you, Baron and Christopher. Thank you, Maria. We actually have a couple more youth council members, and we want to bring them in so they can also talk with you and learn more about UniteLA and Cash for College. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Protest and Promise. We're joined by two more youth council members to continue this conversation on financial aid. So would you like to introduce yourselves? We'll start with John Matthew.
Oh yeah, so my name is John Matthew. I represent Council District 11.
Welcome. Go ahead.
I'm Angela, and I represent Council District 12.
Great. So you heard a little bit of the conversation and overview with Maria from UniteLA, and I believe you have also prepared questions.
So for UniteLA, I was wondering, where do you see UniteLA's program offerings a decade from now?
Ooh, that's a great question. You know, I mentioned earlier we have a variety of programs, Cash for College being one of them, but we have also programs around clean tech, workforce development. So I think definitely, you know, focus in healthcare, STEM or STEAM. I see an expansion of those programs as, you know, we're seeing industries continue to grow and expand. But for me personally, in Cash for College, I really want to hone in more on the college access experience, and especially when it comes to first-gen, low-income students. That was me. I was, you know, first-gen, low-income, undocumented. So I think there's always going to be a need for expansion in resources for college access, especially for our communities. And so 10 years from now, I mean, that could look like anything, but I would love to have, you know, we heard the question about retention, right? Like, are there programs? It would be great to be able to adapt, collaborate, and continue to maybe have something that not only sees you get to that point, but sees you through to the end, right? I think that would be an amazing type of program that maybe in 10 years will be at UniteLA.
Yeah, it's just so very important. You know, we focus, when I say we, I mean the school district, the city, the county. We spend so much time focused on helping young people transition into college, and then we just kind of forget about them. And what's most important is not just getting them into college, but also continuing to support them so that they can graduate and then move into a career or even, you know, advanced degrees or things like that. I mean, I'll just say, I hope that UniteLA continues to thrive and continues to innovate programs. I know UniteLA has been a great partner, not only to the city, but also to the county, to the school district, to the 14 universities and colleges here in the LA region, as well as our community college district. UniteLA was a key player in helping us to establish the LA College Promise program. So it's always nice to have a partner like UniteLA that is able to bring all of these large bureaucracies together and focus on goals that help support young people and their parents. So thank you for that question.
Jumping what you said during your response, you said that like you're undocumented, and I want to expand on that. Like, what might be stopping students who are undocumented from like finding your programs like UniteLA or Cash for College?
I think a big thing, and speaking from past experience, I also worked directly with students at a high school in LAUSD during the 2017 year, and it's the fear around, you know, working with government agencies in some capacity, whether state or federal. And so I think the fear really stops people from seeking additional resources. And also, you know, as I'll again, my personal experience, you have community and you hear different things, and sometimes it's misinformation based on the fear that continues to kind of feed misconceptions or misunderstandings. So I think that's one of the things that really impacts specifically the undocumented community. Also, there's a lot of acronyms, right? Like CADA, California Dream Act application, DACA, which is completely different, unrelated to that. And there are all these things that are constantly moving and changing that I think it's just, the information can be so overwhelming too, that I think it just makes it difficult for people to know where to start. So when I worked with young people at the high school, I think it was me being really transparent and vulnerable with them and with their parents a lot of the times, or guardians a lot of the times.
So building trust in the community
Exactly.
is very important.
Yep.
And I know a lot of documented folks, especially like you said, 2016, 2017, lost a lot of trust in the government or local state governments.
Yes.
Yeah, especially with a big name in the White Office.
Yes, yeah. So I think the fear around what's happening, what's true, what's not true, how can this impact me in the future? I think that was another thing. Like if I get financial aid from the state of California, is that going to impact me if I ever want to adjust my status? So making sure that they understand what the state of California, what the city of LA, what the county offers versus what is happening in the federal level. It's a big one. So yeah, building trust, communicating, sharing
and
knowledge.
educating. And sharing knowledge,
Yep.
educating.
Yep.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for that. Angela.
I guess more on like the logistical side of things. When it comes to UniteLA's numerous programs, are there any measures you guys have, like statistical or like quantitative ways to measure success in the long run and also like currently?
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna bring it back specifically to Cash for College, right? I think one of the things that we do, metrics, right, is working with the California Student Aid Commission, CSAC, to track what the completion rates are looking like in our region, right? What are they looking like, mid-year or mid-season versus the end, and where did maybe we fall short, and taking that information to inform how we want to move forward for the next season. Like, we saw that there wasn't an increase. There was not an increase in numbers, so maybe we need to strategize on incentivizing or maybe producing more content so that folks have access and the correct information to be able to increase that. So the metrics we use really work in tandem with the district, with the California Student Aid Commission, to kind of track specifically for Cash for College in what areas students may need more support with financial aid completion.
Yeah, those metrics are really key in that period that you mentioned, where there was a lot of fear sort of rhetoric. We saw a significant decrease in the number of DREAM Act applicants that year, because I think families were afraid to come forward and say, I am undocumented and I'm providing you with information so that I can secure financial aid. And that's a shame. And so I remember us working together to get the word out, to sort of like back to this theme of rebuilding trust. It was just important, and we need to continue to use metrics to pinpoint like strategies to make sure that all students are aware of opportunities. Great question.
So final question for me is what's one big takeaway you want students to learn about financial aid? Like, what's something, like, most important thing to you is like, this is what I want you to learn about financial aid?
I would say go to community college. I'm a community college transfer. I love community college. I think everyone should consider it. And so LA Community College District has a 2-year tuition-free program.
LA College Promise.
Exactly, LA College Promise. So I would say if you're thinking community college or you're still on the fence, community college is a great option. Apply for the LA College Promise program. Get that 2-year tuition. They also sometimes provide electronics for free, priority registration, which is so important.
Priority enrollment so that you get the classes you need when you get there. You're not on a waiting list. Like, you don't have this issue of impacted English and math. So.
Yes, absolutely. And they also have additional programming that's dedicated to help through that transition process, right? You build community, you have a cohort.
Supports are there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I want to emphasize that as well, too. I mean, in hindsight, I would have went to community college, knocked out my first 2 years of general education, and then transferred to 4-year to finish my bachelor's degree. And now that, College Promise provides 2 years of free tuition for first-time, full-time community college students, that's 2 years of tuition saved.
Yeah.
So, wow. What another great segment. I want to thank you, too, for coming in studio, and we're going to continue the conversation with one more segment and invite more youth council members into this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. We're going to continue the conversation on not only accessing funds for college, but now we're going to talk about what to do in between that period from the time that you get accepted to actually showing up the first day of school. So we are joined by another youth council member, and welcome back to John Matthew, but if you could introduce yourself.
My name is Itzel Vasquez. I represent Council District 4.
All right, Itzel is here. And also from UniteLA, we have Matthew Moore. Matthew, can you tell us a little bit about your work and how you help prepare students for making that transition?
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. My name is Matthew Moore. I'm the manager of post-secondary systems with UniteLA, and I support our higher ed portfolio, and so we help with the college access piece and bridging that K-12 piece and helping really have a smooth transition between that period, because it could be a bit stressful on everybody.
What are some of the things that, what causes stress? So I applied for college, I got into college, I got my financial aid, it's summer, and I know that school starts in August sometime. What are some of those things I need to be paying attention to?
Yeah, I think tying loose ends, and that could really be owing something to your now college's financial aid office. There might be transcript that you need to send, and then figuring out a game plan. How am I going to get there? And all of that. So it could be overwhelming, and it could get lost in email sometimes. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Well, I know our youth council members have a couple questions for you, so why don't we jump right in?
Okay.
Who wants to go first? Itzel, go for it.
So what are some of the specific resources that you offer to aid that transition?
Yeah, so at UniteLA, as you heard from Maria, we offer our Cash for College programming, and again, that supports with getting students to complete their financial aid application. And once students have their financial aid application in, they wait for a period to get their funding, and during that period, it could seem like a very long time. But after that, UniteLA really, works with and hunkers down with partner districts and talking about summer melt and addressing that. Okay, what's the game plan for this year? Because every year I feel like funding is always an issue. Are we going to have funding to support schools to have their doors open and have counselors there available to answer questions and things like that? So game planning with districts, and again, making sure that when students have questions that they have a place to go to.
You said summer melt. What's summer melt?
So summer melt is the period between you just accepted, where you're going to go to college, and they call it the summer melt because it takes place in the summer, and this is really where some of the momentum kind of fizzles out. Right, you're out of school, you just graduated. It's kind of an exciting period, right?
You're on vacation.
Yeah, I'm on vacation. I'm in vacation mode. And sometimes students lose sight of, oh my gosh, I got to start in the fall. And I think maybe take a break from checking email, making sure that you're getting your to-do list done. And when it's time to enroll, start college, you're realizing, wait, I can't enroll in my college because I'm missing something. Oh no, that was due last week. I missed it. Now, now you might feel like you're in trouble. And, the financial aid office, admissions, they might be inundated with, students who are having the same problem.
Oh gosh.
And when students melt, it's where maybe they don't end up starting college in the fall. And they have to, figure out another game plan. And
so the goal is to stay on top of it and
Yes.
and even have some awareness of some of the things that might be communicated from the school you're going to, and to be on the lookout, right? So that you stay on top of those deadlines and provide the information that you need so that you have a successful transition or a smooth transition. You don't want to find yourself going, oh, wow, I'm going to school next week. How am I going to get there?
Right, yeah. You bring up an important point, especially about the work that UniteLA does. We try to facilitate that handoff so that it's not done blindly, and it's done with intention.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for that. Great question.
Yeah. Like you're explaining what you said off earlier, is it, how do you make this all accessible and equitable to all students around LA? Like, how do you provide that information to those students who might not have technology at their homes or have the internet access to check their emails every day? Because I know some people don't have that information or technology yet in their household.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I think it's a question that we're always grappling with. How can this be equitable? What are the gaps? What are we missing? And really, UniteLA's, we're a trusted intermediary. And so we specialize in collaboration. And, we know that we don't have all the answers, but we know collectively, we can address those mishaps, right? Maybe we're forgetting something. There's some students that don't have technology. I'm not front-facing with students. How am I going to know that? That's why it's critical that we partner with folks that are front-facing with students on the ground, and they know what's going on in students' lives, so we can address that. But yeah, it's challenging and it's not easy work.
Yeah, it makes me think. You mentioned that you do a lot of work with LA Unified and providing graduating seniors with that information or a checklist of sorts before they actually graduate and leave might be helpful. And then for folks that don't have connectivity issues or don't have internet at home, inviting them, working closely with UniteLA and the school district to invite those students to come to one of our, we have more than 80 libraries across the city that have computer labs and whatnot, and maybe working with our librarians to provide some assistance. That was a great question. Thank you. It gives me a lot to think about. You have another question?
Yeah, so oftentimes college is a completely different environment than what students previously lived in. And sometimes it's very far away from their established support system. Yeah. How do you facilitate that transition?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And UniteLA doesn't have a hand in making that handoff. But one thing that we do like to share with students, especially when we're front-facing with them in Cash for Colleges, look for that transition program at your, if you're going to community college or you're going to a four-year college. Seek out those types of opportunities. I actually did a summer bridge program before I started at my institution, and I started a month before. So I was on campus, it was in the summer, so there wasn't super packed. I was there with 100 other students, so it was intimate for being on a very large, comprehensive public university. I got to take classes. During the year, I had a mentor. I had study hours, mandatory study hours that I had to go to. So again, I always share, and we always share, look for those transition programs, especially ones that are seeking first-gen students of color. These personalized programs can really help you have a running start.
Yeah, colleges and universities, they don't want students to just, register their first year of freshman. They want to see them successfully complete their degree. So usually, almost always, there's supports on campus, and it's really important to explore those opportunities before you get there and then connect. Great question.
I know YAD is trying to do this, but how do people in underserved communities find those front-facing programs like you just said? How can we find it if we don't have those programs that are offered to us directly? We have to go to a bunch of bureaucracy to find those programs.
Right, and I think that's the challenge. I think institutions want students who go to them, but really it should be the reverse, where institutions make it very easy for you to find those resources. And I know, especially with some of our partners, they're doing an excellent job at making those resources available. Website is always an excellent place to start, to see some of the different resources that they offer. Word of mouth is also very helpful, but it's a lot of work, I think. But also recognize that institutions should be emailing you and letting you know about these opportunities. So I guess it's a little bit of both, but being proactive on the student side, but also institutions meeting you halfway.
Well, this conversation is definitely giving me a lot of ideas about how the Youth Development Department can work closely with UniteLA and the school district and our institutions of higher learning to help facilitate a very smooth transition and make sure that there's supports there once you get there so that you can be successful. So I want to thank our youth council members for being in studio today. It's an excellent conversation. I want to thank our subject matter experts from UniteLA, both Maria and Matthew. Thank you for being here today. I'm Lisa Salazar, your host, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Protest and Promise.